Hey all, Tony Bing here, hello and welcome back to another in-depth review for Marvel's Strike Force. Now, today we have a character that's actually driving a lot of conversation in regards to, is he terrible and is he actually very good? Now, the character we're looking at is Falcon, and so we can figure out if he is worth investing in this video. We'll firstly start off with a general overview that includes his tags and how you unlock them. We'll then look at his stats. Next up it's the abilities, and I'll tell you how high you want to level them. We then have the synergies, which is characters he works well with and characters you want to avoid. And then finally we see where he places in the tier list. So let's start off with the general overview. Falcon then is a blaster class, but personally I feel he's one of these characters that could almost fall into two categories, and that would be a blaster and also a controller class, and I think that's where a lot of the confusion around his kit actually comes from. He's not a pure blaster. Now if we look at his tags anyway, it's Hero, Global, Tech, Blaster, Avengers and also Power Armor. Tech tag is exceptionally strong, as we know, probably one of the strongest tags in the game. You've got the Blaster tag, which helps him out in that challenge. You've then got the Avengers tag, which is one that appears to be getting stronger with some buffs coming to them. And then finally you've got the Power Armor tag, who at the moment that includes Iron Man and War Machine, but I believe we're getting another character to actually fill that out even further, so that's a tag that's only going to get stronger there. So tag wise he does really nice. In regards to his event, it's the Front Lines event. At the moment there's only 6 missions, but we've been told that we're getting, I believe, an extra 4 missions to round up at 10 in the very near future, so hopefully that will speed up the actual farming of them. But that's the overview. Let's have a look at his stats. We start off here with the offensive stats for Falcon. Then I've seen some complaints about his low damage. Even low his damage rating, you can see it comes in at a B, but that's because he can be incredibly situational, and that's something we'll talk about a lot more when we do get to the abilities section. But the damage rating is a B. His speed is really pretty decent, it's 113, so that comes in at a B as well. Focus is a D, but that's irrelevant because he's not applying any kind of debuffs, and the time manipulation he does or the speed bar manipulation that he does isn't reliant on focus at all. There's no resistance check against that. You also have that in war he can gain bonus attacks, and he also has additional piercing in his kit as well. So again, very situational, and that's the one thing I would really stress about Falcon and his damage. You have to make sure you're using them in very specific sets of circumstances. But that's the offensive stats. Let's have a look at the defensive ones. Defensive wise then, his stats are decent, but that's what you would expect from a blaster class. Now his health comes in at a D. He does however gain a 10% health increase buff via his passive, so that would pull him up to a C. His armor's at a C rating. I would have expected to maybe see it a little bit higher there given he's a power armor character, but that comes in at a C. His resistance is D, that makes him susceptible to debuffs, so you need to watch out for that. And then also additionally in his kit, we've touched on the fact he has the increased health, but he can also get increased block chance and block amount, and that's tied in with power armor characters, and that's something we're actually going to look at now when we check out the abilities. We start off here with Falcon's passive, and this is all about offering survivability for him. So it's called Exo 7 Wingsuit. With this you gain 25% block chance, then you gain 5% block chance per power armor ally, so the maximum amount of allies you can have is an additional 4. So it's meaning you could get up to a 45% block chance, which is really pretty decent. On top of that, you'll gain 10% max health, and you also gain 10% block amount. Now, all characters start with 25% block amount as standard, even if they don't have any block chance. That means maxed out, you'll have 35% block amount, and with a full power armor team, you would have a 45% chance to block. Could be really nice there. The difference between level 6 and 7 is only 5% block amount. For that reason, I can't really justify this as one that you would use your tier 4 ability materials on, so just take this one up to level 6. For the basic, we have a skill that I believe many people are under the impression this is actually bugged and you're not getting the additional damage outside of war, but I've tested this in UR but it's really odd how it works. So just to explain the actual skill, it's dual SMGs. With this you attack primary target for 230% damage. If primary target has any positive effects, then you bonus attack for an additional 120% damage, so that takes you up to 350, which is pretty decent there. In war, if the target has any positive effects, and generally in war they will do, then you'll bonus attack again for an additional 120%, so that would take that up to 470, which is really pretty nice. Now, in regards to it looking to be bugged, we have tested this out. Went into the story mode, went up against a character that actually had evade and defense, and what happened is you'll use your first attack, that will strip the evade. If you only have evade, you then can't count a positive effect, so you won't get the bonus attack. Because I attacked a target that had evade and defense, what happened is the evade was eaten up. We then had the additional bonus attack, which doesn't actually show an animation due to the defense up, and it doesn't even show numbers as well for the damage being done, but I did see the actual health bar and the character go down, so this does work. It is bugged in a way, but it is still doing the damage, and in war it can absolutely shred through targets. 470% damage can be pretty amazing. Just try and avoid using a character that has defense up if you can, because that of course will pull it way down. But in regards to how high you want to take this one up to level 6. The next skill we have here is the special, and this is the one that for me makes Falcon a hybrid character in a way. That's the controller and blaster. It's an absolutely exceptional skill, one of the strongest ones in the game. Now this is called Red Wing. It's a low 3 turns to charge, and it does come fully charged. So with this you'll charge your speed bar for self and all allies by 30% and 10% for each enemy with a positive effect. So let's say for example you're going up against a Ultron team, he's called in a ton of minions, there's 10 characters, they've got buffs on them. You would charge the speed bar on every character in your team for 130%, and it works the same way Black Panther's does, is that when the speed bar is filled up to full, it actually carries over again. So depending on where your speed bar is in characters, some characters could get 2 turns out of this as a result of it. Absolutely amazing. Now with this as well, you clear stealth from all enemies. In testing as well, this will actually count evade and taunt as a positive effect to actually increase the speed bar on your characters. And also if a character has evade and stealth, so let's say hand sentries cast his skill, it will still actually remove the stealth from those enemies as well. So absolutely amazing skill. Lastly, I'll just mention the fact that what's great about it is the low cooldown on it, because 3 turn cooldown, depending on how you use it, you can fill up your bar for an entire turn, which means in a way it's only got a 2 turn cooldown depending on the situation, and that's why I've mentioned that Falcon is incredibly situational. In regards to how high you want to take this, the only difference from 6 to 7 is 5% speed bar on that initial 30% speed bar game, so it would drop down to 25%, so for that reason you don't want to upgrade this one, just keep it at level 6. For the ultimate, we have a skill that I feel a lot of people are really underrating. This takes 5 turns to charge and comes fully charged. In the vast majority of instances, if enemies have a lot of buffs on them that aren't due to just about expire, then I would use the special first, because it will fill up your speed bar and your teammate's speed bar, and it means you can get round to using this skill when there's still a lot of buffs on the enemy. This skill anyway, it's called Strafe and Run. With this, you attack all enemies for 190% damage, and then you do 50% piercing damage. For each positive effect on an enemy, you bonus attack that enemy for 80% damage. You also have 50% piercing included as part of that. And then on War Offense, and this is really what Falcon's set up for in my mind, he will do an additional 50% piercing to primary and secondary targets. Now, just some numbers to run over with this. So if you're in a regular mode and the enemy has one effect on them, then you'll essentially be doing 270% damage and 100% piercing damage, which is really pretty decent. In war, you would do 270% damage and 200% piercing, which is really nice. If you are, for example, going up against an enemy that has a ton of buffs on them, so let's use Juggernaut as an example, and this is one I tested, and the damage numbers I've seen on screen look really pretty amazing. But with Juggernaut, when he taunts up, he can get up to 7 buffs on him, so damage wise you would be doing 670% damage and 400% piercing. Of course he does have the defense up, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. If you were in War and you cast this on Juggernaut, you would do 670% flat damage and 800% piercing. Absolutely incredible. Now, as mentioned, of course, you will have the defense up that's going to pull the numbers down, and this is where I feel a lot of people are maybe going wrong with this skill. Yes, you can use this on enemies that have a ton of buffs on them, but you do want to try, if you can, you want to try and avoid it using it on enemies that have got defense up, because they'll be pulling the damage numbers you're doing down in half, and that's where the situational aspect of Falcon comes in. If you use it and they do have defense up and a ton of other buffs, you'll still be doing decent damage, but if you can cast it in a character that's got a ton of buffs and defense up isn't one of them, then that's when you'll really see the true potential of Falcon. Now, in regards to how high you want to take this particular one, there's only a small difference in damage for your initial damage portion, and for your war offense damage, the piercing, that goes from 50% down to 30%. So for this reason, I would just say take this one up to level 6. Unless you're in an alliance that is really pushing for war, then it may be worthwhile taking this up to level 7, where you could get, in some instances, about an extra 100% piercing out of upgrading it fully. But that's his abilities. Let's now have a look at the characters you want to pair him up with and the characters you want to avoid. When it comes to characters that Falcon can work well with, there's actually a lot of really fun options out there due to the way his kit works, being a hybrid between a controller and also a blaster. Now, firstly, you have the power armor characters. They're the most obvious ones, so they'll give them the additional block chance. That's Iron Man and War Machine. Iron Man will of course also give him the additional crit chance due to the tech tag. With the tech tag as well, he can get the defense up via vision, so that can help him survive, so he can get his ultimate and his special off. You then have characters that can manipulate the speed bar of the enemy, or characters that can actually just apply slow or speed up. So that would be the likes of Black Widow and Quake. You've also got Coulson, the sneak peek. We've had its kit, he'll have speed bar manipulation as part of that. You've got Cable as well. Finally, you have characters that can apply offense up. So with these characters, what you would do is you would use a special first on Falcon to increase the speed bar. You then use the offense up on these other characters, and then you've got the ultimate with offense up. And if the enemy has defense up as part of the selection of buffs they have, that offense up will be negating it. So that's a good combo to use there. But characters that could work in that respect would be Kingpin and also Merc Lieutenant there. So I really like what they've done with him synergy wise. He can fit into a lot of teams, and it's really nice to see that. But that's the characters he works well with, so let's look at the characters you want to avoid. When it comes to characters you want to avoid when playing as Falcon, and even characters you would want to use yourself if you want to take him down, it's all really characters that act before him, before he can get that ultimate off and have high burst damage. So firstly, you've got the likes of Mystique and Loki. They can do an insane amount of damage turn number 1. You've then got Star-Lord. You could use the ultimate to try and burn them down, or alternatively you could use the blind. That's probably the better option. That way he'll waste his ultimate. Next up you would have Korath, who has the potential of applying that ability block. We then have Mordo and Vision. Now the reason I have the question mark there is Mordo and Vision, their speed is both 113, the same as Falcon. Now in regards to characters that have the same speed, it's just random as to who goes first. So if you were to go first with Mordo, then you could apply the blind. If you were to go first with Vision, you can apply the ability block. So that would both really help you out, but it is completely random. So that's just something to be aware of. Your best option really, I would say, would be going in with Star-Lord and blinding him, or using the ultimate to hopefully just take him down altogether. So that's enemies you want to avoid, or again the characters you can use to shut him down. So let's now have a look and see where he places in the tier list. So Falcon then is a character that when he first came out and many people seen his kit, we all said he looked incredibly strong. We've then had numerous threads on Reddit from players that are playing him, and they feel that he's actually really weak. Now, I still stand by the fact that he is a very strong character. His special, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, is one of the most powerful specials in the game. The ability to offer an entire team an extra turn near enough is just absolutely insane. You've also got that ultimate as well that can do a huge amount of damage. Yes, it is incredibly situational, but it just means Falcon is more of an advanced class character. He's one that takes a little bit more time playing around with to get used to how he actually works, to make the most out of him. You've also got the fact that he is incredibly strong in war, and he's certainly a character that if quite a lot of your alliance had him, you could really make a big difference in winning a war. And at the moment in the war store we have the fact that Pyro and also Carnage are locked behind it, and as a result Shuri is locked behind it. So in a way Falcon is a gateway to unlocking those characters. Now with all that in mind, I would actually place him on his own. If he's used in the correct situation, I would place him as a mid-alpha character through synergies. So that's pairing him up with characters that can apply offense up to negate the defense up that's on the enemy you're about to attack, and also pairing him up with power armor characters. I would say that would pull him up to a high alpha character. So he is one that I've had a lot of fun playing around with, and actually had a whole lot of fun with this in-depth review, because his kit is a little bit buggy visually wise in regards to the basic and so on, and it was fun going in and trying to record the footage and slow it down to figure it all out, but I did manage to get there in the end with him. So as always, let me know in the comments below if you've unlocked Falcon, how you're getting on with him, what you think of the rating, if you think he's terrible or if you think he's awesome, and thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all again soon.